Welcome to Overlooked Pearls, a show where I test out strange ideas nobody spends their time thinking about. Today's topic is Chemtank Rek'Sai viable? Rek'Sai is known to be an aggressive early game assassin jungler. Her flaw is that she struggles in teamfights, which is a big problem late game, where squishy targets travel in groups, have defensive items built, and the ability to burst you down. Most people buy Prowler's Claw as an excellent gap closer and burst item, fully committing to an early game snowball playstyle. However, I want to figure out how to itemize Rek'Sai for the late game without compromising her early game potential too much. There are three components to this. 1. The items should give her a gap closer for her to engage with, similar to Prowler's Claw. 2. The items should make her tanky enough to survive in teamfights. 3. She should still have enough damage to be lethal. So the answer was Bruiser Rek'Sai. But the problem with Bruiser Rek'Sai was that Bruiser Mythics lacked mobility, and Stridebreaker was already nerfed. So I looked for an item that would give me movement speed instead. It wouldn't be as good as a dash, but it would help me chase down my targets. Chemtank seemed like the best option in this scenario. It was a tank item, it had an active that gave more movement speed to gap close, and the Balmy Burn plus the new Chemtank passive would help maintain damage. Build Tiamat, Steric's Gauge, and then finish Titanic Hydra for your core items. Deadman's Plate for extra movement speed, Black Cleaver for armor shred, Executioners if they have healing, Force of Nature for movement speed, and MR. These are just recommendations, itemize accordingly for the situation. For runes, just go your basic Conqueror Rek'Sai build. Triumph, attack speed, or tenacity, depending on your matchups, Coup de Grace for assassination power. You can choose to go Domination Secondary Tree for more dueling power, but I chose to run Conditioning and Overgrowth for some extra tankiness. You can opt for Aftershock instead of Conqueror, but shit, even I'm not that crazy. I also don't think you would have enough damage for the mid game as well, so we're sticking to Conqueror for now. So now the big question, did it work? Yes, it did. As Rek'Sai, your early game damage is nuts, especially with Conqueror active. Itemizing tanky does not affect the early game too much. Camp clears, ganking, and dueling felt like normal. You just kill people about 1 second slower than Lethality Rek'Sai, which is not a huge trade-off. Early game playstyle remains the same. Gank hard, kill many, profit. It is very important to rush Balmy's Cinder as quickly as you can because Balmy's helps out a lot with camp clearing. Really makes a ton of difference. Once Chemtank was built, things got so much better. Chasing down targets was easier thanks to the active, the burst of the on-hit passive helped, and the extra tankiness made early dragon clears a bit more comfortable. There is a slight drop in damage capability for a short period entering the mid-game due to the lack of AD items, but the moment you build Tiamat, things go back to normal. Your ult still retains its lethality on low HP targets, and your Q and E still beats the ever-loving piss out of people. At this stage, unlike Prowler's Claw Rek'Sai, you cannot kill someone within 1 microsecond of jumping on them. You can still assassinate them pretty quickly, but be sure to factor in this new time frame. The extra tankiness you gain makes up for the longer time to kill, allowing you to take longer fights and escape comfortably, even if hit by crowd control. Feel free to brawl things out if needed. Come late game, you are now a built Bruiser Assassin. You have the tankiness to dive in and engage in teamfights without worrying you'll get bursted down instantly. You can even initiate teamfights, although ideally you want to go for the backline. You still have enough damage to also assassinate targets reliably, allowing you to take down ADCs. The Chemtank helps with the extra movement speed to chase and lock down targets. Overall, it is much easier to participate in teamfights with this build. The playstyle is similar to Tank Warwick, jumping in and brawling it out, and then using your ult to finish someone off. Another great thing about this build is that it punishes you less for not snowballing in the early game. Even if your laners int and give you a rough early game, you can farm up and still carry the mid to late game instead. I've had several games where I fell behind early due to my mid laner and bot feeding people like they were volunteering in Africa, yet I can still manage a comeback during the mid to late game because of this build's scaling and teamfight power. However, not having Prowler's Claw Dash really sucks, especially against high mobility squishy targets. Your burst is nowhere near the Prowler's Claw combo, you also cannot push your early game lead as hard as Lethality Rek'Sai. To sum it up, the pros of this build are more late game survivability, better team fighting potential, can deal with tanky targets, scales well. The cons are lack of insane one-shot bursting power, no Prowler's Claw as a gap closer, can struggle with high mobility targets, not as much snowballing potential. I actually asked Adam Moose, a fellow YouTuber, for his opinion on Chemtank Rek'Sai. He uploads a lot of useful guides on junglers and how to play them. Definitely check him out if you're looking to get better at jungling. He tells me that lethality Rek'Sai is better for most situations, and he's probably right. But I believe that Chemtank Rek'Sai is viable in its own right, and it will forever have a place in my heart. That's it for today, folks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. I upload content weekly, so consider subscribing if you're interested. I'll catch you guys later. Good night and sweet dreams. Me and Cat, signing off.
Can you get him?
I think so. I did.
I think we can ARAM mid now.
Oh, Seraphim's misposition. Oh, I'm going
I can
for
ult
Ashe.
on somebody.
Go in, in. And they said jungle diff, motherfucker. Oh shit, someone help me with Cho, please. And they said jungle diff.